I realized my family's house had been sold to strangers when I saw them hauling my grandfather's old boat out of the boathouse right before my eyes. That boat, handcrafted by Grandpa Jack in 1974, had carried me fishing every summer morning on Lake Winnipesaukee. A middle-aged couple, beaming with smiles, directed workers to move items out of the house that was once mine. They greeted me like a curious neighbor. When I told them I was Jack Whitaker's granddaughter, the owner of this house, they froze, their eyes faltering. "We bought this house 3 weeks ago from Thomas and Elizabeth Whitaker. Are they your parents?" I don't clearly remember how I drove back to Boston. It felt like a void, as if chunks of memory had been erased and replaced with a crude draft of betrayal. I didn't cry. I couldn't cry. There was only one question looping in my mind. How could my parents do this? I'm Emily Whitaker. I'm 34, living in Boston's South End. I'm an architect with a small firm specializing in eco-friendly wooden homes and sustainable design. I've been independent since 18 part-time jobs, scholarships, internships, all without a cent from my parents. Not because they didn't have money, but because I was never the priority. That's a role I grew accustomed to early on. My family never said it outright, but there was always an unspoken hierarchy. Madison, my younger sister, was the center. She was beautiful, vibrant, emotional. My parents called her the sensitive one, the one who needed care, attention, favor. Me, I was strong and self-sufficient in their eyes. That meant when Madison wanted ballet lessons, they paid for them. When I wanted to attend an architecture summer camp, I worked at a bookstore to cover it. When she broke her phone, it was replaced immediately. I got Mom's old phone with a cracked screen. I didn't resent it. I learned to stand on my own, and it shaped me. But one thing I'll never forget is the quiet presence of Grandpa Jack. He was the only one who saw me without comparing. Every summer, he'd drive his cream-colored convertible Chevrolet Bel Air from his house to the lake house, a wooden retreat he built himself in 1970. I'd sit in the passenger seat, hair whipping in the wind, clutching my canvas backpack, thrilled as if heading to a secret world. Each time he'd tilt his head and ask, "Think we'll catch a bigger fish than last year, kid?" There we lived, simply fishing in the mornings, fixing wooden railings, reading at night, sipping hot chocolate when the wind picked up. He taught me how to hammer nails straight, how to paint wood without streaks, and how to accept when plans don't go as intended. No grand lectures, just a steady, profound kind of love. When he passed away 6 years ago, the family gathered in the lawyer's office to hear his will. Everyone assumed the lake house would be sold and split or go to my parents, but Grandpa left a surprise. I leave the lake house and all its contents to my granddaughter Emily, the only one who understands the value of silence and hard work. May it be a haven for her, as it was for me. I remember my mother's forced smile cold beneath the surface. My father grimaced as if losing an investment. Madison blurted, "But I've been there too. The whole family has." "Why just Emily?" No one answered. Deep down, everyone knew Madison never bonded with the lake house. She'd get bored after a day, eager to return to the city for a friend's birthday party. I was different. The lake house was where I wrote my first journal, where I realized I wanted to be an architect. It was where I felt I belonged. I didn't need Grandpa to leave it to me, but when he did, I felt seen truly, for once. Since then, I've cared for the lake house every summer. I replaced old shingles, fixed the wood stove, preserved the stone fireplace he lit every evening. I didn't live there, but it was an extension of my heart. I planned to redesign the interior, start a summer camp for kids to learn woodworking and survival skills to carry on his spirit, until the day I found out it was no longer mine. 3 weeks ago, I planned to visit the lake house to check the heating system before winter. But when I called Ted, the caretaker, his phone was disconnected. I told myself he might have changed numbers. During dinner with my parents, my mother quickly said, "No need to worry, your father hired someone else." That response set off alarms. They had no right to do that. I was still the legal owner. I paid for maintenance. The next morning, I drove 3 hours to the lake house. As I turned onto the familiar dirt road, I noticed the wooden Whitaker's rest sign was gone. In its place, the Peterson family retreat. The Chevrolet Bel Air that used to sit by the porch was missing. The lawn was neatly trimmed, the porch adorned with new flower pots, and that couple, Robert and Linda Peterson, greeted me as if they were the rightful owners. They weren't wrong. On paper, they'd bought the house. The contract bore my forged signature. The emotion wasn't anger, but a quiet panic. Like standing on cracking ice, you know you're about to sink, but you don't know when you started falling. Back in Boston, I called my lawyer. Reviewing the documents, she said, "Emily, this is fraud. They can't legalize it if we act quickly. I asked, could they have thought I'd never find out? She looked at me serious. No. They thought if you did, you wouldn't make a fuss because they're your parents. I fell silent. She was right. That was the toxic belief I'd lived with my whole life. I could handle it. I should handle it. My sacrifice was expected, but not this time. It all began last fall, a Friday evening during our usual family dinner. Mom made the beef stew I used to love. The table was set as always, but I noticed a photo missing from the hallway. The lake house photo, Grandpa Jack and me laughing on the porch holding half-burnt marshmallow sticks, taken the last summer before he died. I paused for a few seconds before the empty wall. Where's the photo, Mom? I asked. Without looking up from her sauce, she said casually, Oh, I sent it to be reframed. The old frame was rotting. Maybe. But unease stirred in me. That photo had a metal frame it couldn't rot. Why remove it without telling me the only one truly tied to that place? Still, I stayed quiet. Maybe I was being too sensitive. A week later, I called Ted Johnson, the lake house caretaker for nearly a decade, to check the water pipes before the cold set in. No answer. By the third try, his number was inactive. I emailed him, no response. I tried again the next week. Still nothing. Odd. I asked Dad directly during Sunday dinner, Do you know how Ted's doing? I can't reach him. He picked at his vegetables, dodging slightly. He retired. Moved on. I hired someone else. Don't worry. Who'd you hire? Someone from town. Trustworthy. I forgot their name. He suddenly focused on his salad like it was the most important thing in the room. Something was off. But again, I brushed it aside. Maybe I was being paranoid. They're older now. Forgetting things happens. Then everything unraveled in a month. First, Madison. She announced her wedding would be at a luxury resort in Vermont. Her fiancé James polished and proper worked for his father's investment firm. His family was well off. I didn't pry. It wasn't my business. But then, week by week, Madison's Instagram filled with wedding details, a custom French gown, an engagement party at a 5-star Boston hotel, a 3-week honeymoon in the Maldives and Bali. Where was the money coming from? I watched, quietly confused, but not yet deeply suspicious. Until Hannah, my best friend, asked bluntly over coffee in Beacon Hill, Emily, sorry if this is sensitive, but do you know where Madison's family is getting all this money? I mean, do your parents have that kind of wealth? I shook my head. I don't think so. They're retired. They live comfortably, but not like that. Hannah went quiet. She's the type who doesn't speak unless she's sure something's wrong. And I knew that. 2 days later, I went to the market near the lake house to pick up supplies. That's when I ran into Dorothy Matthews, the neighbor north of Grandpa Jack's property. We'd been friendly since I was a kid. She smiled warmly, then her eyes hesitated. Emily, you still visit the old house? I froze. Yeah, why? She faltered. Well, I heard it was sold. You'll still come by, right? I stood stunned. Sold? Who sold it? Oh dear. I thought you knew. I heard your parents discussing it at the store a few weeks ago. They said they needed money urgently, for family matters. I didn't need to hear more. The pieces clicked. The odd silence. The little lies. The missing photo. Ted's disappearance. The lavish spending. The averted glances. I rushed to my car, heart pounding like a drum. There was only one place I needed to be, the lake house. The 3-hour drive from Boston to Lake Winnipesaukee felt eternal. I knew every curve, every roadside marker. One sound echoed in my head, please don't let it be true. As I turned onto the dirt road to the house, I knew my fear was real. The Whitaker's rest sign, carved by Grandpa Jack in 1983, was gone. In its place, a shiny new one, the Peterson family retreat. I stared. My chest tightened. I parked on the side, stepped out my feet, barely touching the ground. A truck was parked in the yard. A middle-aged couple directed workers moving items into the house. They turned when they saw me. Hello, new neighbor, the woman smiled brightly. I couldn't answer immediately. I looked at the house I grew up in, where Grandpa lit fires every night, where I held so many memories. Now bearing a new name. A new life. I swallowed, voice catching. I'm Emily Whitaker. This is my house. The man frowned, polite but uneasy. Oh, we're Robert and Linda Peterson. Sorry for any confusion. We bought this house 3 weeks ago. From Thomas and Elizabeth Whitaker. They're your parents, right? It felt like the ground collapsed beneath me. The house was sold. My parents signed the contract. and I, the legal owner, knew nothing. One thought remained. How far had they gone? And I swore I'd trace every step to find out. Starting tomorrow. My signature was on the sale contract, neat, clear, almost perfect, but it wasn't mine. I stared at the contract copy my lawyer provided, my throat tight. I'm meticulous. My signature has a unique slant from E to W, with a slight curve at the end. This one mimicked it, but lacked soul. It was a mechanical copy. A mold. "You're sure this isn't your signature?" My lawyer, Stephanie Liu, looked up, studying my reaction. "I swear," I said, voice dry. "I never signed any transfer papers. I didn't sell that house. I didn't know it was sold until last week." Stephanie leaned back, hands clasped. "We're talking about signature forgery. If true, that's a serious crime. And the ones who did it," I said slowly, "are likely my parents." I didn't think I could say it so bluntly. Part of me still hoped it was a mistake. But the contract, complete with notarized documents, bank records, financial trails, confirmed a cold truth. Thomas and Elizabeth Whitaker sold my house by forging documents, and they didn't hide it like an accident. They did it deliberately. "We need to trace the money from the sale," Stephanie said. "It didn't go to your account." "I know. They used it for my sister's wedding." She raised an eyebrow. "Do you have proof?" I nodded. "The engagement party, the gown, the honeymoon Madison, and James's new house. All within the same time frame. All beyond their means." "We can investigate further," Stephanie said. "And if you want, you can take this to court." I didn't answer immediately. My breath felt heavy. "It's not just about court," I said. "It's about the truth. I want it uncovered layer by layer, and I want them to know that I know." Stephanie looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. "Then we'll do it your way." The 3 weeks before Madison's wedding passed in a state of tense calm. I was like someone walking on thin ice, every step calculated, silent. I didn't confront them or mention the lake house. I played the normal sister, even helping pick wedding invitations and suggesting music. Inside, a plan was forming. Madison visited me one Tuesday evening, bringing macarons and chatter. She talked about her gown, James's wedding gift, their honeymoon dreams. She mentioned our parents, so amazing, supporting everything without complaint. Actually, she beamed. They said the lake house would be our special wedding gift. I could hardly believe it. My hands tightened under the table, but I smiled, keeping my eyes soft. Sounds like a dream. I didn't ask if she knew the house was mine or why I wasn't consulted. I saw her eyes flicker when she mentioned the lake house. She wasn't a good liar. She might not have forged anything, but she knew something was wrong. I didn't need her to confess. I needed her to see it at the right moment. The wedding took place on a surprisingly clear Saturday in Vermont. The resort was like something from a luxury lifestyle magazine, white floral arches, a pool reflecting golden sunlight, each guest given a Madison and James's love journey booklet. I stood amid it all, feeling like a misplaced character in a play I hadn't rehearsed for. The engagement party was the night before. I wore a simple, high-neck black dress. Entering the grand hall, I saw Mom laughing by the buffet, champagne in hand. Dad was taking photos with James and the groom's guests. They were radiant, busy, and oblivious to me. Throughout the evening, I heard my name a few times. "Emily, thank you so much for gifting the lake house. Such an amazing gesture. Your sister's so lucky to have you. You're such a selfless sister." I smiled. I nodded. I thanked them. Each word was a sweet slicing knife. But I didn't waver. I was prepared. At the end of the party, as guests left the hall, I approached my parents. "Beautiful day," I said. "Everything's perfect." Dad smiled, nodding. "We're so proud of you girls. Everything's fallen into place." I looked at him for a moment. "I just have one small thing to say." They both looked at me, slightly surprised. "Check your mail tomorrow," I said, my smile still gentle, my voice light as air. Then I walked away. In the quiet, windless dark outside the venue, I stood for a long time looking at the starless sky. I didn't tremble. I wasn't afraid. I just felt empty and relieved. Tomorrow they'd receive a letter from my lawyer's office. All documents were ready: the forged signature report, the court petition, bank records, and witness statements. No room left to hide. I was no longer the compliant daughter who'd stay silent. I was the legal owner of the lake house. And this time I'd reclaim not just the house, but my self-respect and the boundaries they'd trampled for too long. That morning I got a call from Mom. 3 words: "We need to talk." No greeting, no pleasantries. Her voice was hollow, as if drained of emotion or deliberately restrained. I agreed. No surprise. I knew Stephanie's letter had arrived, a full dossier, the forged signature report, bank records showing the sale money funneled to Dad's account, then dispersed for wedding expenses, and Ted's statement that he was told to stay quiet and retire before the transfer was finalized. The meeting was at my parents' house where I grew up. The living room was the same beige sofa family photo on the mantel, the rug I tripped on while learning to ride a bike indoors. Only this time I came with my lawyer. Stephanie sat beside me, documents in hand. My parents sat across, eyes heavy. Madison was there, curled in a corner, clutching a tissue. I started simply, "I want the truth, no dodging." Dad frowned, trying to stay calm. "Was that letter really necessary?" "I think it was," I replied. "Because your words aren't enough anymore." Stephanie pulled out the papers. "We have clear evidence that my client's signature was forged. Financial transactions confirm the sale money went to Thomas and Elizabeth Whitaker's account. Additionally, Ted Johnson's testimony states he was forced to retire without clear reason. All signs point to forgery and misuse of titled property." Silence hung for a few seconds. Mom stared at the floor. Dad crossed his arms, sitting rigid. Madison broke the quiet, her voice trembling. Is this real?" I turned to her. "You didn't know. I thought... They told me you didn't need the lake house anymore, that you gave it as a wedding gift. I believed them." Her voice cracked. "I didn't ask more. I didn't dare. I wanted to believe you were doing something grand and noble, like everyone said. But now," she covered her face, sobbing softly. I looked at Madison, my anger less than I'd expected. Something like regret stirred. Part of me wanted to hug her to forgive, but the part built from loss and hurt wouldn't allow it, not yet. Mom spoke up. "You never really lived at the lake house. You're in Boston. You only go there once a summer. Madison, she's starting a family. A wedding happens once. We thought..." So I cut in. "You thought me not living there meant I didn't need it." "It's just a house," Emily, Dad interjected. "We're family. Property is shared. We didn't take anything from you, just adjusted for the circumstances." "Adjusted," I echoed, tasting the word. "Adjustment is for changing a flight time, not forging my signature to sell the most precious memory Grandpa left me." Dad pressed his lips shut. Mom started crying. Madison kept her head down as if wanting to disappear. I continued. "The lake house isn't just a house. It's the only place I was myself in this family, where Grandpa taught me to fix a roof, to fish, to listen without judgment. He left it to me because he knew I needed a place to belong." Stephanie slid another document forward, a legal analysis. "We've submitted files to the notary and property offices. If needed, we'll request a criminal investigation for document forgery and property theft." Dad's face shifted. "You want to sue your parents?" I didn't answer right away. I stood circling the room, my eyes lingering on familiar objects. "I don't want to sue anyone," I said, "but I won't keep ignoring when my rights are trampled." I turned back, standing tall, eyes locked on them. "I'm not just reclaiming the house. I'm reclaiming the truth and my boundaries. From now on, no one in this family gets to define what's right for me for their convenience." The room fell silent again. But this time it wasn't avoidance. It was a confrontation with no escape. Madison stepped forward, touching my shoulder. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry, Emily. I didn't know I let this happen." I placed my hand on hers. Not squeezing, not letting go. "Just a touch for now." Mom stood. "We'll find a way to fix this. If you want the lake house back, fine. But let's keep this out of court." I nodded. "If you cooperate and clear the records, I'll consider it. But everything must be transparent." Stephanie added, "We'll send a settlement agreement. If you sign, we'll pause legal action. But understand this isn't forgiveness. It's a chance to make it right." The meeting ended without hugs, tears of reconciliation, or sweet promises. But it was a start of truth and of rebuilding what was lost. Leaving their house, I didn't feel relieved but empty. In that emptiness, there was space to rebuild something I'd never had before. A week later, I received a letter not from the lawyer, but from Mom. Her handwriting was shaky, but one line stopped me cold. "We misused memories to do wrong. Now let us use those memories to make it right." Attached was a transfer notice. They'd sold the old Chevrolet Bel Air, the car that carried me through summers with Grandpa Jack. The money was enough to cover legal fees and start a new plan reclaiming the lake house. 2 months after the confrontation, the legal matter was nearly settled. Stephanie's office informed me that the Petersons, the new owners, agreed to return ownership. My family would repay most of the sale money plus a fine. I didn't smile or sigh in relief. Every victory after betrayal leaves not joy, but a lingering, conflicted silence. One early spring afternoon while working, Stephanie called. Her voice was serious but softer this time. "Emily, I just received confirmation of a transfer from your parents, but part of it didn't come from their personal account." I stopped writing. "Then from where?" "From an auction, a cream-colored convertible Chevrolet Bel Air registered to your grandfather. They transferred ownership, auctioned it through a vintage car dealer, and used the proceeds to pay you." I went silent, gripping my pen. She continued. "There's one more thing. They sent a small envelope saying it's for you. I'll send it over." That afternoon, I received the envelope. A small, folded note in Mom's familiar, slanted handwriting. "Emily, no words can fix what we've done. I let bias and fear of shame guide me. We misused memories to do wrong. Now let us use those memories to make it right. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I only hope you understand that not every wrong comes from coldness. Sometimes it comes from love done wrong, and that's something I'm still learning." I folded the letter, my heart stirring. No tears, no sobs. Just a slow acceptance that some wounds never fully heal, but don't need to be reopened to remind you they hurt. I visited the garage where the car was sold. They kept detailed records at my lawyer's request. The manager, a tall man with salt and pepper hair, led me to the display area. The 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air sat in the corner. Same cream color, red top wide steering wheel with a silver wing logo. It was clean, well-maintained, but it lacked Grandpa's sweat from long drives, the vanilla ice cream stain I left at 8. Just a physical echo of memory without its soul. I opened the door, sat in the driver's seat. The leather was still that sun-baked sand color. I placed my hands on the wheel. Memories flooded back like waves summer when I was 12. Grandpa opening the convertible top, playing classic rock, grinning at me. "Think you can be America's best architect?" I laughed. "I'll redesign this whole town if I have to." He nodded. "Then take the wheel." I shrank back. I don't know how he patted my shoulder. "Learn. Start here." The one who taught me where to start was gone. But his lessons remained not just about skills, but about trust. I sat in the car for a long time until afternoon light streamed through the window, casting long shadows on the garage floor. For the first time since this began, I cried. Not from anger or loss, but regret for everything once beautiful twisted by fear, selfishness, and blame. The car wasn't mine anymore. I didn't reclaim it. I didn't need to hold everything to hold on to Grandpa. I realized memories aren't intangible things. They're in how I live with honesty boundaries, compassion, without compromise. Days later, I went to my parents' house unannounced. They opened the door surprised. I didn't mention the car or the letter. I sat on the sofa, my old spot where I studied, got scolded, stayed silent through dinners. "I came to say one thing," I began. "I'm not forgiving yet, but I don't hate you." Mom looked up, eyes wet. Dad clasped his hands silent. "I need time, and I need everything from now on to be clear, honest, no assumptions, no demands. I'm not the self-sufficient girl you can ignore anymore." I stood. "I'm learning to give people a chance if they truly want to make amends. But forgiveness isn't something you can demand. It's something you earn." No one spoke as I left. But this time, no one turned away. No one closed the door behind me. And that for me was a new beginning. The lake house will return to me in a few weeks. I'll go back carrying intact memories and new cracks slowly mending. I lost the car, but I kept something greater, the clarity to forgive without forgetting and the courage to love without losing myself. I returned to the lake house one early summer morning. The sky was so clear the lake mirrored every cloud like a glass. The house stood there quieter and older than in memory, but still carrying that same feeling, peace tinged with longing. The key turned lightly in my hand, opening the familiar door. The smell of damp wood, thyme, and past summers rushed in like waves. The wooden floor was rotting in places. Paint peeled the porch roof, cracked the rowboat in the boathouse, rusted the backyard overgrown with weeds. But I didn't feel regret. Instead, a gentle excitement, like the house itself was waiting for me to revive it piece by piece. I started with the floor where Grandpa and I played chess, where I read while he napped in his armchair. I measured each plank, ordered the same oak he'd chosen years ago. Every nail, every cut was a way to reconnect with him, no words, just action. I repainted the walls, still warm cream, but with a hint of gold this time. I rebuilt the old rocking chair, fixed the porch roof, restored the little boat. I planted a lavender garden by the window, a scent I knew he loved, though he never said it aloud. For months I lived in silence, amid creaking wood, gentle waves, and morning birds. In that silence I heard myself clearer than ever. I wasn't angry anymore, nor fully forgiving. I was accepting that the hurt was real, but it no longer controlled me. 6 months later, Madison had her baby. I found out via a simple text I gave birth. Her name's Emma. I stared at the message, my hands trembling as I replied, "Congrats." 2 days later, I visited the hospital. The room was stark white. Madison lay there tired, but softened when she saw me. In her arms was a tiny being, eyes half closed, lips pale pink like peach blossoms. She placed Emma in my arms, no words, no explanations. Just a quiet handoff. Holding Emma, something opened in my chest, a nameless love. She reached out, seeking an anchor. Madison spoke softly, as if afraid to break the moment. I want her to know the lake house, to know Grandpa Jack, to know Aunt Emily, who taught me that sometimes love means saying no. I looked at her, tears falling silently, not from sadness, but because something was finally understood, late, but true. 2 years later, the lake house is different, brighter, tidier, but still holding its old soul. I added a bookshelf, a small desk. In the backyard, I built a mini playground, knowing little feet would run there. I held a small gathering one fall, just close friends, Madison and Emma. I didn't invite my parents, but sent them a photo, Emma on the porch chair beside me, the lake house glowing in the sun. No caption, just a silent message: things have changed, and I'm okay. That afternoon, as sunlight slanted across the lake, I sat on the boat with Hannah, my friend who'd been there from the start. "I didn't think you'd come back to this place like this," she said. "Neither did I smiled. She paused, then asked, "Have you forgiven?" I thought about it. The breeze was cool. Waves lapped gently against the boat. "Forgiveness isn't forgetting," I said slowly. "It's accepting the hurt happened, but choosing not to live with it anymore." Hannah nodded. "So, what do you live with?" I looked at the house where Emma laughed with Madison in the garden. "I live with what I've reborn in my own way. And this time, I'm holding the blueprint." She smiled. No more words needed. The sun set behind the trees. The lake shimmered like silver. I closed my eyes, feeling Grandpa Jack somewhere nearby. Not as a ghost, but woven into the air, the light, the scent of wood, and the creak of the rowboat. I'm not chasing what was lost. I'm living with what I've rebuilt with love, resolve, and the belief that from broken pieces you can still build a place truly called home. The lake house isn't just a house, it's where I learned that memories, family, and self-respect all need equal protection. My story isn't about betrayal, but about rebirth after breaking. About realizing that sometimes forgiveness isn't weakness, it's the strength to choose not to live in pain forever. I've learned to say no when needed to love, without losing myself, and above all, to rebuild what's precious with my own hands, as Grandpa Jack taught me. Family can hurt you the deepest, but it's also where healing can begin if you dare to face it. If you've ever felt alone in your family, misunderstood, or lost something through no fault of your own, know you're not alone. Thank you for listening to my story to the end. If it touched something in you, please leave a comment, share your thoughts, and don't forget to follow the channel for more stories to come.